Some of the features are there's actually 2 pockets here for your notepad. If you have a notepad, officers tend to carry that so we can write down different things on each call that we go on. It's one on either side. There's actually 2 normal pockets in the front here. These were on the old uniforms too, but they carried over to these. They're actually a little bit deeper, which I like these.
Yeah. It's good for the moments, especially during summer when it decides to only rain for about 3 minutes at a time, and you don't have time to get your raincoat, or it's too hot for a raincoat. And 12 hours is a long time to go with a soaked undershirt. The official term for the color is LAPD Navy.
The process was patrol officers were wearing them. They were looking for, like we've said before, durable, very utilitarian with all the pockets on them, comfort, and then now more what we deal with is the cost part of it.
Approximately 200 sets of uniforms.
200 sets of uniforms, okay.
They're $37.50 per unit, which is a shirt, is a single unit. So it would be $70. $75 per uniform.
The positive response from the community has been overwhelming. It doesn't matter where you go, people make comments of how much they like the uniform. It was time for our department to, get a fresh look.
What's the difference between the old uniforms and the new uniforms?
The material, for one. I mean, like we go back to being in the rain. The old uniforms, if you got wet, you were soaked all day. You were miserable. You had to leave and go back home. And just the look of it, most people think of us, they call us the postman. Because we look like the postman coming down the street with our light blue, dark blue pants with the stripe on it.
So it's readily recognizable no matter where you may come from across the U.S., but there are other practical considerations. One of those is that it doesn't show dirt as readily, and we deal with stuff like fingerprint powder and different things that you're in contact with every day. Like, for instance, when I was wearing the command white shirt, one of the first things I knew I was going to do at some point during the day was I was going to end up with a dirty spot on the front that I had lived with for the rest of the time. So the dark color is very functional in that way, because if you happen to go fingerprint a scene, well, the black fingerprint dust isn't going to really show up on that uniform, but the light blue shirts that we were wearing before, you could tell if somebody had been on the scene that morning, because there was going to be black at different places on their uniform where they came in contact with the fingerprint dust. So that's a very practical thing. We weren't going for a certain look. What I gave them was a set of parameters, and they went out. I had no preconceived notions about what color, what style, what material, anything. I just gave them a mandate, and they took it and ran with it, and this is what we came up with. I'm very pleased with what we came up with, and I'm pleased with the way they did that, and I think they got a good blend between the comfort and the professional look of it. So things like that, they really remember more. We had a number of conversations about this. It was one of the first work groups that we put together since I've been here, and they took it and ran with it.
What was the most challenging thing of the whole process?
Trying to appease 35 people.
Is that your force, or is that patrol? Or
That's the total number sworn.
total sworn, 35. Okay. All right.
Some of the guys, they were just steadfast in the classic look until we finally got a one that we could use and show, which was our field test, and we changed the minds of a lot of the officers. And of course, you're still going to have a few that going to have their own opinion on which one they want the most. But I think as far as this uniform, this is the best that we could find that appease the most people that we can get.
It allows us to be able to move a lot easier. It's not restricting like the other one. The other pants were a dress style pants, and every time you would either have to do something like chase somebody or run after something, or the pants would either rip or tear, or they would get stained, especially the tops too. With the tops being a light blue color, again, stains showed a lot easier on that than they do on this. And like the chief said, anytime you did something, whether it be fingerprint or you had to deal with somebody, more physical. Everybody could tell because you have those marks throughout the day until you can get home and change your uniform or wash your uniform. So with this uniform, with the ability to carry a lot of our equipment and the color as well as the material, it's a lot better and more I guess for what we need. It fits our needs a lot better, I should say. One thing that came out of the uniform was especially the color and how our different brass, if you will, or different, our badge and everything else that we have on the uniform kind of stands out a lot more than it did against the blue color. That's one thing I hear all the time with the public is how it looks more authoritative. It looks more, I guess, professional, they even said. Even though the other uniform technically was more professional uniform, a Class A style uniform, everybody across the board is saying how this one looks more professional because everything kind of stands out and it makes us look more authoritative.
That's our badge of authority. That shows that we're sworn officers. I've had people come up to me, even people that work for the city, says, "Oh, when did you start wearing gold stars?" And I said, "Well, when I started." And they never took notice of that on the white shirt that the command staff used to wear. And of course now we're one uniform, one team. We're command staff, from the officer that started yesterday to the highest ranking, to the chief, that everybody's in the same uniform.
With what we carry on a daily basis, in the old uniform we had 4 pockets. We carry 2 pens. This might take a little while. All my little cards as far as laws and everything. I have my handcuff key. I have my key fob for the login on our MDTs, a backup flashlight, my DUI checklist, a notebook, cell phone, wallet, and then your personal keys, if you carry them. And you can imagine trying to carry all that in 4 pockets. Everything else we carry is going to be on our belt. We have our weapon, we have our electronic control device, we have our aspeton, our OC spray, handcuffs, and extra ammunition, of course. Like I was saying, we were trying to tear them up. I was doing things in that uniform that I'd never do in the previous uniform we'd have because I knew it would tear it up.
Like what?
We were on a road check in Twiggs County, and I was helping the sheriff's department out there search a vehicle, and nobody wanted to go underneath the vehicle, so I said, "I'll do it." I got my test uniform on, crawled underneath it on asphalt, didn't even get a burr in the uniform, and yeah, I was purposely using my back to crawl underneath the car, and it still didn't tear up the uniform. So we're very happy with these things.
Uniform, I was more eager to do things in it to try to really test it out because I didn't want to get my approval on a uniform and then find out down the road that it'd tear up easy or whatever. So I wanted to make sure if I was going to say it was good that I knew that it was a good uniform. So yes.